What kills a K-pop group? Is it scandals, poor sales, members leaving? Sometimes, but other times, all it takes is one comeback. One moment where public perception shifts so dramatically that an entire career can be divided into two eras, before and after. For Itzy, many fans point to July 2022 and their song Sneakers, a song that, depending on who you ask, was either a fun summer anthem unfairly hated by the internet, or the exact moment Itzy lost their momentum as 4th gen leaders. Hey guys, welcome back to Summers with Wade. Today, we have the second episode of the Itzy project. Clearly, by that dramatic title and intro, you can tell we're going to be talking about Sneakers, the moment where everything changed. Really quickly, I want to insert a massive thank you to all of you who watched the first episode. It did so much better than I thought it would, so for that I'm super grateful, as well as all the support I've been receiving on my recent videos. It truly means the world to me that you guys enjoy the videos and my takes, and even when you don't agree with them, sharing your opinions with me and talking about it genuinely makes my day. But back to the video. Now, before the comments start flooding in, let me make something clear. This video is not about whether Sneakers is a good song. That's not the point of it. Plus, we're gonna discuss and rank their entire discography in a future episode. The point I'm trying to make is how a comeback that should have been a guaranteed success somehow became one of the most controversial releases of the entire 4th generation. And to understand why, we need to go back to the beginning. Feel free to watch the previous episode to get some additional context. In that one, I go over their entire career timeline from debut up to a few weeks ago. It's not necessary to understand this video because I'll provide any needed information, but if you truly want to grasp the extent of everything, I believe the first episode can provide that for you. When Itzy debuted in 2019 with Dala Dala, they immediately established themselves as something different, literally. While many girl groups focused on elegance or more traditional girl crush, Itzy built their identity around confidence. They were loud, bold, unapologetic. Their entire brand revolved around self-love and individuality. Dala Dala, Icy, Wannabe, Not Shy. Even if you didn't like every title track, there was a clear identity connecting all of them. Itzy songs felt empowering. They were fun and youthful, but most importantly, they felt uniquely Itzy. By 2021, they were widely considered one of the leaders of the 4th generation. Then came 2022, and everything started getting complicated. The landscape around Itzy had changed dramatically. IVE had exploded onto the scene, New Jeans was preparing for debut, and aespa was reaching new heights. For the first time since their debut, Itzy weren't the undisputed next big thing. They needed a comeback that reminded everyone who they were, and initially, it looked like they had exactly that. In June 2022, JYP began releasing teasers for Itzy's upcoming mini-album, Checkmate. The imagery immediately caught everyone's attention. The members appeared as queens. It screamed royalty, luxury, power. The teaser photos featured crowns, jewels, elegant dresses, and a sophisticated high-fashion aesthetic. It felt like the natural progression, giving their signature crown end pose. Fans quickly began theorizing. Many expected a darker concept, others predicted a mature royal theme. Some even compared it to Red Velvet's Feel My Rhythm era or IZ*ONE's elegant concepts. But whatever people were expecting, I don't think anybody could have predicted how things rolled out. The teaser for Sneakers dropped and the reaction was immediate. Confusion, shock, disbelief, and even betrayal. Instead of a regal anthem about queens and power, fans were greeted with bright colors, sporty outfits, and worst of all, a chorus centered around putting your sneakers on. Suddenly, all those royal teaser images and album name felt disconnected from the actual song. People began asking what happened. The internet quickly developed a theory. As teaser images continued to release, many fans became convinced that JYP Entertainment was intentionally misleading the public. The disconnect between the elegant royal concept and the bright, colorful styling shown in their later teasers felt so extreme that some MIDZY began developing elaborate possibilities to explain it. The most popular theory was that Sneakers was simply a fake-out. Fans believed JYP was using a cheerful, almost childish-looking song as bait while secretly preparing to reveal the album's real title track, Checkmate, closer to release date. Since the album itself was already named Checkmate, and the initial promotional materials heavily emphasized themes of royalty, crowns, and chess pieces, many assumed there was no way a song called Sneakers could be the centerpiece of the project. Social media quickly filled with speculation. Some fans argued that the Sneakers teasers were intentionally exaggerated to throw people off. Others believed the group would undergo a dramatic concept transformation in the video, revealing a darker and more sophisticated track hidden beneath all the colorful marketing. Every new teaser was dissected for clues, with fans searching for evidence that a second title track announcement was coming. The theories grew so widespread that, for a brief period, a significant portion of the fandom genuinely expected a last-minute twist. Instead of debating whether Sneakers would be good or bad, many were debating whether it was even real. The twist, of course, was that there was no twist. When release day arrived, Sneakers was exactly what JYP had been advertising in the later teasers: a bright, upbeat, carefree pop anthem. The royal imagery and luxurious Checkmate branding had been real, but so were the colorful sneakers, playful styling, and youthful energy. For many fans, the realization felt less like a reveal and more like a collective moment of disbelief. And in hindsight, that confusion may have been one of the biggest contributors to the backlash. The issue wasn't simply that people disliked Sneakers. Many listeners felt they had been primed for an entirely different comeback. Whether intentional or not, the gap between expectation and reality became almost impossible for the song itself to even overcome. Then, the full track released and the controversy only grew. For some listeners, Sneakers was exactly what Itzy had always been. Fun, energetic, confident, silly. It was a summer anthem about doing what you want regardless of what anyone thinks. But for others, it felt like a step backward. Critics argued that the song sounded childish compared to the increasingly sophisticated concepts dominating 4th gen K-pop. The "put my sneakers on" hook became an easy target for online mockery. Memes spread everywhere. Reaction channels piled on, Twitter spent weeks treating the song like a punchline, and unfortunately, once a song becomes a meme, it's incredibly difficult to change the narrative. Personally, I was going through some health problems at the time, so I had taken a break from making my reaction content. But even so, I was incredibly confused by everything. Part of me regrets not recording my initial first listen, but I also feel it wouldn't have been fair. But I'll explain more of my thoughts in the ranking episode. Returning to the rollout, this is where things become interesting, because Sneakers didn't actually flop. The song was a massive commercial success, peaking at number 5 on the Circle Digital chart and topping both Billboard's South Korea Songs chart and the Soompi Music chart. This release also gave the group their highest charting single since Dala Dala and propelled their EP Checkmate to number 8 on the US Billboard 200. It even went on to get 3 music show wins and become their first million seller. So, the album sold well, and the group remained fairly popular. Yet, online discourse told a completely different story. Almost overnight, Itzy became the subject of endless doom posting. Every comeback afterward was compared to Sneakers, every chart performance became evidence of decline, and each new release was analyzed through the lens of, can Itzy recover? And I'm guilty of that too. I've also contributed to that conversation a few times on the channel. For some, it didn't matter that the group was still successful. The narrative had already been established, and like we've discussed at length here, narratives are incredibly powerful. But did Sneakers actually destroy them? In my opinion, not exactly. I don't think Sneakers destroyed Itzy as a whole. What it did destroy was the perception of inevitability surrounding them. Before Sneakers, many fans assumed Itzy would continue their upward trajectory forever, myself included. After Sneakers, they became viewed as a group that could make mistakes, a group that could miss and become vulnerable to changing trends and public opinion. The timing also couldn't have been worse. The 4th generation landscape was becoming more competitive than ever. New groups were arriving with fresh concepts, music tastes were shifting, and suddenly, Itzy found themselves fighting an uphill battle they had never faced before. Sneakers didn't create every problem, but it became the symbol for them. Looking back almost 4 years later, it's fascinating how much power one comeback can have. Not because of sales, not because of awards, but because of perception. Sneakers became one of those rare K-pop moments where a song transcended the music itself and became a cultural event. Whether you love it or hate it, the comeback fundamentally changed how people talk about Itzy. And while I don't believe Sneakers derailed Itzy's career entirely, I do think it changed the conversation around them forever. Because unfortunately, the narrative surrounding Sneakers didn't end with Checkmate. Just a few months later, JYP released the group's first original single, Boys Like You. While the song was intended to help expand Itzy's international reach, the reaction online was overwhelmingly mixed. Critics pointed to the simplistic lyrics, Disney Channel-esque production, and younger target demographic. For many listeners who were already questioning the group's musical direction after Sneakers, the song felt like a confirmation that something had changed. Whether that criticism was fair or not almost became irrelevant. The damage was done. Instead of discussing Itzy's strengths as performers, dancers, and entertainers, online conversations increasingly revolved around concerns about their music. Every release became another piece of evidence in an ongoing debate about whether the group had lost the identity that made them so successful in the first place. This perception would continue to follow them through the years. Albums like Kill My Doubt, Born to Be, Gold, and Girls Will Be Girls all contained songs that were generally well received by portions of the fandom. Tracks such as Bet On Me, Mr. Vampire, Imaginary Friend, and others frequently received praise for showcasing a more mature and emotionally nuanced side of the group. Yet, those positive reactions rarely seemed to dominate the conversation. Instead, conversations often centered around what the title tracks weren't doing. They weren't reaching the cultural impact of Wannabe, they weren't generating the viral moments of Dala Dala, they weren't recreating the excitement that surrounded Itzy during their peak years. In many ways, the group became trapped by their own success. While finishing up this video, I saw that Dizzy Pop posted a video that pretty much sums up the point I'm trying to make here.
Some of you are so negative about your favorite groups that it does not help them. Talking up past achievements and how it used to be doesn't bring in new fans. Ultimately, yes, the music speaks for itself, but when they're scrolling among fans of a group they're trying to get into, and all the videos are just, remember how it used to be? It's overly negative and doesn't make people want to look any further. Itzy dropped a phenomenal comeback in Motto, and I felt like 1 in 4 videos was actually talking about how good that song was. The other 3 videos I'd come across would be just, remember Icy? Remember Wannabe? Remember how it was 6 years ago? How's a new fan supposed to see that and be like, man, I gotta get into this group? But how are these posts supposed to help anyone? Is all you care about the achievements? Because good music's still coming out. I don't know, maybe just speak a little bit more positively about your faves instead of how many achievements they got 5 years ago. Doesn't really help anyone.
When Itzy debuted, they set an incredibly high standard for themselves. Most groups would consider selling hundreds of thousands of albums, maintaining successful world tours, and consistently charting releases to be a dream scenario. But because Itzy had once been viewed as one of the defining leaders of 4th Gen, merely being successful was no longer enough in the eyes of many observers. Every comeback was compared to the past. Each title track was compared to Wannabe. Their charting was compared to their peak, and every release was scrutinized for signs that the group had either fully recovered or permanently declined. The result was a self-perpetuating cycle. People began expecting disappointment before the music was even released, and when audiences approach a comeback already convinced the group has fallen off, it becomes significantly harder for any song to change that narrative. That doesn't mean every criticism was baseless. Many fans genuinely preferred Itzy's earlier sound and felt disconnected from some of the group's newer musical experiments. That's where I fall personally. I love a lot of their B-sides, but I also haven't been shy about my thoughts on their most recent releases. However, there is a difference between a group making divisive creative choices and a group actually failing. The former describes much of Itzy's post-Sneakers career. The latter is what many people online continue to push despite evidence suggesting otherwise. Because while Itzy may no longer dominate the conversation the way they once did, the fact that people are still arguing about whether they've fallen off years later is proof of something important. Groups that are truly irrelevant don't inspire this much discussion, and sometimes the most important comeback in a group's career isn't their biggest hit, it's the one everyone refuses to stop talking about. But that's enough for me today. I really hope you guys enjoyed this retrospective look at Sneakers. It genuinely was one of those moments where you just had to be there. I really do encourage you to listen to the Checkmate album though, because regardless of your stance on the title track, I feel the rest of it is super solid and worth listening to. I could keep going on and on, but that's for the next episode. So thank you guys so very much for watching. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Click that bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. Tell me in the comments down below, what was your experience with Sneakers and the Checkmate album? Were you there in the trenches with me when everything was happening? Or did you find out about it later on? Remember that I love you all so much. Please make sure that you're subscribed to see when the next episode of the Itzy project is up, and I'll see you guys on Monday with another video. Bye!